Okay, yeah. So just an FYI, we're a little bit shorthanded today, so there's only going to be three of us. But first, I just wanted to start with a little kind of poll. So if everyone in the chat could put down what kind of streaming service they use, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, um, etc., SoundCloud, I'd be really interested in seeing what all you guys use. Okay, YouTube, Spotify, Tidal. Oh, that's a rare one. Spotify Premium, the best. Spotify. Okay, YouTube Music number one. Yes, Gordon. Uh, so yeah, as you can tell from the chat, most people do in fact use Spotify, which is the stock we will be highlighting, or the company we'll be highlighting today. So first, a little bit of history. So Spotify was founded in the Swedish capital of Stockholm by Daniel Ek and Martin Lorentzen in 2006, but was actually launched in 2008, which makes the company over 12 years old now. It currently has 320 million users from 92 different countries, which makes it the most used streaming service, which we'll get into more detail in a little bit. So as you can tell from this graph, Spotify, as of November 2019, had 100 million subscribers, and the closest competition, which is Pandora, surprisingly. I know no one uses Pandora, but I think old people do. That one had 63.1 million, which is still 40 million away from Spotify. Sorry, Cassie. Sorry, Cassie's dad, rather. And Apple Music was not far behind at 60 million. But as you can tell, Spotify is by far the largest streaming service. And obviously, since it's global, that helps it a lot. And some of the notable competitors obviously include Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, etc. But they pretty much pale in comparison when it comes to Spotify's magnitude in terms of its user base and revenue. So looking at this quote here from Taylor Swift, which may seem a little random, but trust me, it does have meaning. You can see that she's talking about the changing landscape of the music industry. And it really goes to show as how Spotify has changed the streaming industry in the past decade or so. She feels that Spotify is taking the music streaming to a whole nother level due to all the new features and the broader accessibility for people. Because right now, all you need is some kind of device and streaming and internet service, and you can stream music through Spotify. So she feels completely different to when music was being downloaded, like in the old days, where you had to download music off of like iTunes and pay like $2 for a song. It's obviously a very changing market, and it will continue to change, as we will see shortly.
So getting into a little bit of Spotify's stats, with the number of subscriptions Spotify has and the number of users it has, Spotify has been consistently going up in both users and revenue. This is from like ads and subscriptions, and it's also due to COVID-19. And ever since it occurred, many people can't go to work or have less responsibilities, therefore causing more users and more subscriptions, and causes the revenue to grow as a result. And you can see in the two graphs here, according to Statista, Spotify's revenue last year in 2019, or 2 years ago, was $7.3 billion. And we expect this number to grow as more and more subscriptions are added daily. So for the stock analysis of Spotify, we can see that COVID-19 did slowly impact its growth. From March to June, its price slowly started to grow. And we can also just continue to expect this overall growth from Spotify technology. To date, Spotify is the most popular streaming service, as Ronak said before, and 35% of Spotify users are actually have a subscription with Spotify. And yeah. So for Apple and Apple Music, we can see that it also experienced a growth, but it's not as popular as Spotify Music or the Spotify streaming service. And overall, we can see a growth, and a lot of the benefits of Apple Music are that it's really easy to use. There's an easy interaction between customers and the musicians themselves. And we can see that since the addition of the AirPods Max and other like AirPods and headsets that Apple has been, you know, creating, we can see that the stock of Apple started to increase as well. Ever since like the reveal of the AirPods Max, the Apple stock climbed about 0.5%. And this analyst named Luke Pierce said he's expecting Apple to promote themselves as like this premium audio brand, which is really interesting. We can see Apple is also expected to release this Apple Fitness as well. So they're starting to branch out into different areas, which is really interesting.
All right, so how is the music industry projected to grow? So I want to quickly define some things that you see in the pie chart. Live music is defined as concerts or music events. Published music is the revenue collected by music publishing companies, like your typical record label. And recorded music is the songs on your typical music streaming service, like Ronald said, Spotify, Apple Music, and then records and vinyls at your music store. So the recorded music is expected to have a 5.6 year-over-year increase over 2020's first 6 months. Recorded music is at a 5.6 year-over-year increase over 2020's first 6 months, and keep in mind, roughly 4 of those months are during COVID. Recorded music has been able to stay consistent due to not really having a physical aspect. So the pandemic has actually had somewhat of a positive effect on music. With more people turning to music as entertainment. Millennials and Gen Z are spending more of their annual budgets on music more than any other group, which isn't really much of a surprise. So more artists over time creates a domino effect on the portions of the music industry. So for live music, more artists creates an opportunity for concerts and events for new fans. For the published portion, more artists will most likely be signed to labels. And then for the recorded portion, obviously more music is going to be on streaming services, and that results in a variety and more possible subscriptions to streaming services. All right, so this slide, I'm going to be talking about the evolution of recorded music, since this is where most of the growth is expected to be. So going to a record store and buying a music vinyl isn't really too popular anymore, and that explains the sharp dip that the graph shows in physical revenue. In the earlier slides, someone mentioned that music subscription services have moved from charging for individual songs, whether that be iTunes, to charging for overall use of the app. And that's why downloaded revenue is predicted to experience a huge drop from its already low revenue. And like I said in the previous slide, the increase of the streaming revenue will most likely be a result from more smartphones and technology in emerging and developing markets. And the future of music is set on streaming revenue.
Okay, cool. I have a question for you all. Not really a technical question, but if you guys listen to podcasts, which I do a lot, but what platforms do you guys usually use? Oh, hi, Matt. Interesting. Colleen, didn't you get Spotify during the pandemic? I mean, premium?
No, I got it ages ago. I could not last a day.
Bought into the
with
capitalistic
normal
machine. Okay, anyway.
Capitalist machine.
Ignore Derry behind me. Anyway.
I'm not unmuted.
Actually, okay, Daniel, that's great that you brought that up because nobody else except me uses Google, that I know of, uses Google Podcast, but I do too. I personally think it's a very friendly platform. I've tried, oh, you're Gavin. Okay, cool, because I didn't know to Daniel either. So yeah, okay, Gavin, yeah, me too. I use Google Podcasts. But just a recommendation, if you guys want, check out an app called Pocket Cast, I think. I actually I downloaded it, but I haven't really used it. I'm not exactly sure, but I think you can organize your podcast in a certain way that's really aesthetic and really user friendly. So if you guys are into that, like I know Matt likes that stuff, you guys might want to check that out. Or you can stay like, Apple nerds. Yeah. So are there any questions for our panelists? Okay. In that case, let me stop recording.